My guest today is one of the biggest names in West End musical theatre in London, and she's the star of the musical Guys and Dolls that's on now in Paris at the Théâtre Marigny, just off the Champs-Élysées. Her name is Ria Jones. Ria, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
So you are playing the incredible role of Miss Adelaide in Guys and Dolls. For those viewers who don't know the show, tell us a bit more. Who is Miss Adelaide?
Well, she's a larger-than-life character. She's full of energy and fun, which I love to play, and She's been engaged for 14 years to Nathan Detroit. All she wants to do is get married and have a little home in the country and live happily ever after. Unfortunately, Nathan Detroit has other ideas. He's a gambler, and all he loves to do is gamble his money away. They love each other very much, and it's just an uplifting, fun musical, and I really do look forward to playing her every night.
All right, let's take a quick look at you playing Miss Adelaide on stage.
I love you, a bushel and a peck, a bushel and a peck. Oh, it beats me all the heck, beats me all the heck. How will ever take the farm, ever take the farm when I want to keep my arms about you, about you. Cause I love you, a bushel and a peck. You bet your pretty neck I do. Doodle-doodle-doodle, doodle-doodle-doodle, doodle-doodle-doodle. Goodbye now.
Ria Jones, Miss Adelaide in Guys and Dolls. So Guys and Dolls playing in English here in France.
Yes.
So just to remind our viewers, above you there are super titles, I guess we call them, like subtitles in French. What's that like on stage? Do you notice a lag in the jokes, for example?
Yes, sometimes, and it's really interesting. In the very front row, we get to see, I think, about 6 rows back clearly, and often we'll say a line and they'll literally turn left or turn right or look up, and then we get the laugh. But it's actually been fine. It's a very visual show. It's colourful. The set is great, and some fantastic dancing, singing. It's been a wonderful experience. I don't think I'll ever get used to me talking so high. Sometimes it's really high, and because I've got a much lower voice, and watching myself back, gosh, she's really quite a character. I'll miss playing her, but no, it's a wonderful, wonderful show.
And this isn't the first time you've done a show in Paris. You were in 42nd Street a few years ago. You were telling me at the Châtelet Theatre.
Yes.
What's the biggest difference between doing a big show like this one on the West End, say on Broadway, or here in Paris?
There isn't actually that much difference. I've been lucky enough to work worldwide, from China through to Russia, and I don't find actually the audiences that different. Obviously, the language barrier. But I think when you do musicals, the sheer energy, I think, and the music is worldwide. It's a universal language, and I think that really does come across wherever you are. So there isn't actually a huge amount of difference, apart from, as I said, reading the subtitles. But that's all part of the charm of performing in another country. I feel very honoured.
Now, your theatre is just off the Champs-Élysées, where we have seen these yellow vest protests, in addition to the beauty of the Champs-Élysées, week after week on Saturdays. Did that affect you or the show in any way?
It has had an impact on the show, of course, because it's Saturdays, which is the busiest day for theatre. It was very strange. The first, I think it was about the second Saturday, sitting doing my eye makeup and hearing helicopters and these loud bangs coming from literally 100 yards from the theatre. It felt quite surreal that there we were about to do a comedy musical amidst it all. So it has had an effect, an impact on the theatre, and it's such a beautiful position for a theatre to be, right on the Champs-Élysées with those beautiful gardens. And it really is a charming theatre. It's a shame that has impacted, yes. But, the audiences have been wonderful, even the ones that made it through all the barriers. And I had friends that came and actually climbed over walls to get to the theatre. And the wonderful Jean-Luc Chopin went out on stage and thanked the people for making it to the theatre, and they were a wonderful audience. They were fantastic.
It's interesting. This is the first time Guys and Dolls, which is a classic in American musical theatre, has ever been performed here in France. France doesn't really have a huge tradition of musical theatre. Why do you think that is, and what kind of reaction have you gotten from French theatre goers?
It's been a wonderful reaction, and I've heard this many times that musicals don't really work here, but it's such a wonderful place for... I mean, I'm a huge Piaf fan, and I mean, her voice is incredible. So I'm surprised when people say that about musicals, maybe because most of them are all in English, and I understand that, but I don't really know. 42nd Street was a huge success, and our reviews couldn't have been better if I'd written them myself. But I suppose years ago it was a musical had to be successful on stage first before it became a film. Now it's the other way around. It's a film first and then it becomes a musical, and maybe because it's an old film from the 1950s, but it was a musical first before the film. But it's not as popular here as it is in America and England. So maybe it's finding the films that are popular here that will work as musicals for the future.
Ria, you, like many of the performers in the show, have had a huge career on the West End in London. You've been in all of the big shows, Grisabella and Cats. You played Eva Peron, Fantine and Les Miserables, Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard on tour. But before that, you understudied for the actress Glenn Close at the Coliseum, I believe.
That's right.
What was that experience like?
It was amazing, actually. It was actually standby. I wasn't in the show. I literally was in the wings every night standing by, and the inevitable happened and she was sick. And with 4 hours' notice, with no rehearsal, with the orchestra, I was on stage playing one of the greatest musical theatre characters ever written. And I'd already done, I did the workshop when I was 24, the very first person to ever sing the role. So for me, it was a wonderful circle to then, 26 years later, actually be playing her on stage. And Jean-Luc was at my first performance. He was there to see Glenn Close, and I was on, and he stayed, saw me, and offered me Dorothy Brock in 42nd Street. That was my way into performing in Paris.
So thanks to Norma Desmond and Sunset Boulevard, you ended up in Paris.
And I'd love to do that musical here. I really do, because the film is so wonderful and dramatic, and I think the Parisian audiences would love the drama of that show. Yes.
Ria Jones, thank you so much for coming in to talk to us.
It's my pleasure. I watch you every day.
Thank you.
I really do. I love your program.
Well, you are starring now in Guys and Dolls.